Hey guys, welcome to BP, the Bible Perspective. Is there a difference between the Democrat and Republican parties? These two parties that govern the very way America is ran. I say no. They are just opposite sides to the same evil coin. But where does the church fit into these two systems? And should the church fit into these two systems? Now, before we get into it, please like and share this video and subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comment section below. All comments are welcome. You know, the Democratic Party formed around 1828, and the Republican Party formed around 1850. Let me see, 1854. I'm sorry. Now, those are the two major political parties. And in a free society, there should be more, but there isn't. Believe it or not, there are, for example, two comes to mind. The Green Party, for example, that never ever gets any votes, right? But then you also have the Libertarian votes. The Libertarian, they don't get any votes either. They're just kind of like an offshoot of Republicans, people who don't really want to be a part of the Republicans, but they really believe like the Republicans. All right. And you may take issue with that, and I will gladly receive correction. But anyway, without a doubt, the two Republican parties that have governed our way of life since the 18th century, Republican and Democrat, they determine what kind of president we're going to have. They determine what kind of Congress and Senate we're going to have, which ultimately determines laws passed, laws rescinded, and ultimately dictate the kind of life America will lead. That's how important this is. And as I said, so now, where does the church fit into this? The problem with the church fitting into either side is they lose sight of the biblical side. And when we think about this image here, which now is the budding ideologies of today, the Republican versus the Democrats. It's interesting that the Republicans that are kind of summed up in Trumpism today, and now you have Biden. But what are, in a sense, the essence of both parties? Well, if you're a Republican, you believe that, as a Christian now, I'm coming from a Christian perspective. If you are a conservative Christian or evangelical Christian, you believe the Republican Party, for the most part, is your party, the party of God. Now, in a stranger twist, those today seem to rally around Trump. I'm not going to get too deep into that. It's too painful. It's just obviously idiotic. Millions of Christians believe that Trump is God's man. But what about the Democrats? The Democrats, and can you be a Christian and vote Democrats? Well, some conservatives say no. And the reason why they say no is because of talking points. Now, the Democrats pretty much will lean more on social issues, feeding the poor, health care. Jesus was for health care. Jesus was for feeding the poor, those kinds of issues. While Republicans or conservative Christians would be more for, religious kind of talking points. Abortion, gay rights, religious freedom, even though that's not that big of an issue. But certainly gay rights and abortion is the two remaining talking points of the conservative Christian. Now, Trump delivered only on one aspect of, if you thought he was God's man, and that is he packed the courts with judges. In and of itself, that doesn't mean anything because laws haven't changed, which brings me to my point. If Trump was your man, why in his first 2 years didn't he champion the Christian cause? He had control of both houses, Senate, and Congress. So why didn't he direct them? Why didn't he say, make up laws, let's get the ball rolling to reverse abortion, to reverse, gay rights? Didn't even make the effort. On the Democrat side, if you are a Christian who says, well, we believe in liberation theology, or we believe in social justice and issues like that, are you doing it at the expense of God? And that's what Democrats in liberalism does. They start off from this perspective of not God, but humanism. But beyond any of that, neither party really cares. And as I said, they are basically opposite sides of the same evil coin, because they both cycle in and out, right? 4 years, 8 years, whatever, Republicans are going to be back in the White House. And the cycle goes on and on and on. That's the way the system is designed. So what really happens in this nation? Well, behind a lot of issues, of course, is power, and who dictates power. Now, understand that in maybe about 40 years, a demographic shift is changing. A racial shift is changing. And to that, by the way, is probably more of a concern to certain people in power. They don't care about God, social issues, or anything else. How do we hold on to power? And that becomes the issue. So where does the Christian fit in at? Is the kingdom of God really being built by our adherence to any party? Think about that. Is the kingdom of God being furthered by adherence to any party? You see, when 20 years ago, the Christian leader said, vote your values. Think about this. Bring this back up here. 20 years ago, they said, vote your values. When this man on the right, Trump, came, they said, oh, values is not important. You see, to those Christian leaders, it's not about the kingdom of God. It's about building an earthly kingdom. Now, guess what? Opposite sides is the same evil coin. That's what this evil coin is doing. They're jockeying to build an earthly kingdom. And that earthly kingdom, well, whether God's in it or God's not, that's the position of power. On the Democratic side, what do they want? An earthly kingdom that they can control. That's why they will control it through laws. They control who's in on the Supreme Court, right? That's the most important part. Who's in the Senate, who's in the Congress, those who make laws, and then the judges who enforce those laws. The presidency, of course, comes and goes. The bigger positions of power. That's where, again, Christians need to evaluate our involvement. Is it really building the kingdom of God? I say no. It's building an earthly kingdom. Whatever side, because no matter what party you're on, it's just opposite side of the same evil coin. And who is spinning the evil coin? Evil people. And that's my perspective. Don't forget to like and share this video, and subscribe to BP The Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comment section below. All comments are welcome. Until next time, I'll see you then.